Cunningham.
Okay,
Deputy
sorry.
Speaker. Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Speaker. And I just wanted to add a few words to the condolence motion before the chamber today. My colleague, the member for Throsby, had spoken earlier in particular about the impacts of this terrible tragedy on our local community, and so I want to endorse his comments, but more broadly to join my colleagues from this parliament in supporting the statements of both the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition in the parliament yesterday, offering the condolences of the nation to the MH17 victims and confirming our resolution to seeking justice, not only for the 38 Australians killed in what was a barbaric act, but for all of those who died from nations around the world, including, of course, so many from the Netherlands. The horror that this act struck in the hearts of people around the world was so powerful, I believe, because it was a civilian aircraft carrying people undertaking simple acts of everyday life. They were holidaying, visiting family, working, indeed, as we know, many attending the International Conference on AIDS here in Australia. As the Leader of the Opposition said, they were sons and daughters, brothers and sisters, partners and parents, friends, teammates, classmates, colleagues, wonderful people who loved and were loved, people who laughed and learned and made a life under the Southern Cross. They could easily have been any one of us. They could have been our families and our friends. And indeed, as many colleagues have indicated, they were members of our local communities. I join my colleague, the member for Throsby, in recording in our parliament the sentiments that we were able to share at the condolence events in our own area, at the loss of two wonderful locals in this terrible event, retired teachers Carol and Michael Clancy. The local paper, the Illawarra Mercury, obviously it reported on this terrible tragedy and how it had affected us so close to home, and had an open condolence book on the site. I thought it was one of the great opportunities that social media provides for people to find that space and to express their sense of loss and grief for the family and for our community more broadly. I think it was very particularly moving to many of us because both Carol and Michael, as teachers, had given a lifetime of dedication to enriching the lives of others. It's as a former teacher, and I know many of my colleagues would hold their own teachers from their young years in great esteem, and it's a very noble profession. And both Carol and Michael absolutely reflected that in the many former students who went on to the website of the local paper to record their own expressions of appreciation for how they'd touched their lives as students. And Stephen, the member for Throsby, read some of those comments into the record today. There was also some remembrance of how Michael would play Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody at the beginning of lessons to settle students down and to get the day underway, and remembrances of how he knew every student's name and would wander around the school and know not only them but their family as well as they were on the grounds, and some lovely comments from the family as well in the paper, and some, I think, very moving reflections of how their own grief they were managing, but how appreciative they were that the community more broadly had indicated its absolute determination to stand with them at a very difficult time. And in that vein, I would like to also commend the Lord Mayor Gordon Bradbury and the Council, who very quickly organised a candlelight ceremony on the 21st of July, brought together religious leaders of many denominations and representatives from all levels of government to attend. And as the member for Throsby indicated, the family members also there, not at that point obviously feeling able to speak themselves, but having written what they wanted said down, and that was read by the Mayor to the crowd there on the night. Also, obviously, my great personal commendation to the principal of the school, Principal Glenn Daniels at the Albion Park School, and to all the staff and that there. As the member for Throsby indicated, it's really difficult to engage and work our way through understanding an event like this as adults, but to then have a school community of primary school age children trying to understand how someone they love so well in both Michael and Carol had been lost. It would be a really difficult task, and the school themselves had an assembly and a follow-up ceremony for the community to come along to, and so that's really tough, and I think we should record our great appreciation for the work of the principal and his staff in working through that. And finally, I'd also, like so many in here, would like to add my words of appreciation to the Governor-General, to all of the specialist expertise Australian people on the ground in a very, very difficult circumstance, whether they're part of forensic or air crash investigation or policing type authorities, all of those people doing work for us in that circumstance. This is a great strength, I think, of our professional people, whatever area they come from, that they go into very difficult circumstances. Let's hope their skills are not needed in the longer term, because we've seen it in Bali as a previous example. So I would just like to place on the record to my appreciation for the work that they've done, and to join both the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition in all of their sentiments that were expressed in the House yesterday. Thank you.
I thank the member.